All right, no trolling this time. Hey everybody. So this stream was planned for 9 a.m. Eastern time to start with, but had to push it a bit further for 11 a.m. Eastern time. But now let's do it. So Antminer L7 Hashboard repair. So it's the first time again for myself that I'm working on a L7 hashboard. I believe we might have fixed some in the past in the shop. I would have to go back and look at our history. In any case, that's the first time I'll be working on one. Again, we don't really have any documentation from Bitmain for what I know. I don't believe there is a maintenance guide ready yet. I haven't seen, but I didn't look too bad. But I haven't seen if there was any, values out there for L7 measurements. So we'll do that just like two of our previous streams, S19A Pro and D7 Hashboard, where we measure the values. We'll fill that up during the stream, and so you guys are going to be able to take a note of those values as well, and maybe use it for your own repairs. And so, without further ado, for this unit that we received, we had two hashboard to fix, and we still have. But there's one that when we took it out of the unit, there was some apparent burnt damage. So for sure, I won't be looking at that board today. Maybe today, but I don't think I'll be looking at it during the stream because burnt boards can be a big mess and they can be a time drain, and I'm not exactly sure how much time I'm gonna allocate to that today. So that burnt board was put aside for now, and let's just focus on that hashboard here in the unit. In the logs, so the guys didn't put the label here, but they told me by voice, the logs from the machine, this hashboard was detecting 30 ASICs. So we'll see what the tester is telling us and what our measurements is confirming as well. Let me just grab a small post-it because I just want to make sure the customer ticket and name is not visible during the stream, obviously, because we want to keep the privacy of our customers. So like that. Just put one more to make sure. Alright. So, L7 dashboard, this is what it's looking like. So we'll start like we always do. We'll just remove the screws there. Let me find my screwdriver that's right there. Let me just unplug that thing here. I didn't look before starting the stream if my sound was good, but yeah, it looks good. Do let me know in the chat if it's not. And just as we started the stream, I think I saw that Bitcoin was pumping back again over 20K. So I guess the Bitcoin gods are rewarding us for our live streams. Just kidding. No, to be honest, what's happening in the world right now is pretty crazy. It's pretty intense. I don't know how bad you guys are following, and I wouldn't call myself an expert, and obviously I can't give any advice about all of that stuff. But I mean, the dollar is so strong against all the other fiat currencies that are weakening very bad right now. What happened in England with the Bank of England starting to bail out again and injecting liquidity in the market is it's looking bad to me. I mean, for what I know, the pensions there got margin called. It doesn't sound good to me. For sure, doesn't sound good to me. It looks very bad. I hear that there is also, and it's confirmed like by even military satellites, that there is gas leaks in the Nord Stream projects. So this might put some pressure to increase the energy prices even further. I mean, brace yourselves for a crazy winter, and I have no clue how Bitcoin is going to behave in a climate like that. And I think we're all going to figure it out together. What I would say is in some sense, I'm pretty happy with Bitcoin performance in the sense that all the fiat currencies are weakening against the dollar. And like in some sense, with all the strength that the US dollar has gained, I mean, it's Bitcoin just staying where it's at is pretty good in my opinion. I'm not sure, and we'll have to see. The market is gonna decide. I'm not sure we're gonna make it through the resistance levels if we push higher. At least not now. I think there is at least well, TA Voodoo would say there's at least 1 or 2 more weeks of sideways action before we can see an actual real upper side move. But TA, as I said, it's voodoo. It doesn't reflect reality. It doesn't reflect necessarily what's happening in the world and perception people are having, the market is having. And right now, with stuff like Bank of England, I know the buying volumes from England to buy Bitcoin has increased like dramatically, and that's what data is telling us. And so I'm a data-oriented person, so I look at that, and that's for sure very bullish for Bitcoin. Um, but remember, Bitcoin is priced mostly, like, I mean, normally when we speak about Bitcoin and about its price, we're talking about its US dollar price. And the US dollar, man, it's so strong. It's stupid at this point, but it feels like, again, TA Voodoo says it might keep on going higher even. And well, something's gonna break somewhere, that's for sure. If it's not the U.S. government, it's gonna be some Occidental government or central bank that's gonna have to make more moves to keep up with the strength of the U.S. dollar. But I'm not the person that's the most in authority to speak about that stuff. It's just like news that I noticed, and I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Bitcoin, price increasing for sure at the beginning of the stream, and for sure it's nice to see. But looking at everything that's happening in the world, there's a lot of uncertainties, that's for sure. Um, so we'll see. But for sure, for sure, miners would have some relief because I think there's a lot of capitulation. There's a lot of distressed companies right now in mining. I mean, even big institutional miners and very well capitalized mining companies are having trouble. And we'll see how it does in the coming days and coming weeks. So that's it for the small market update about Bitcoin. It's something I've been thinking maybe we'll do some of those from time to time. We'll see. All right. So L7 Hashboard, here we have it. So let's just see what the tester is telling us. I believe we have to test at 14 volt. We'll see. Well, first let's plug and see what the PIC is telling us, what the EEPROM data is telling us for the voltage we should be bringing to that board from the laboratory power supply. And it says here 14.8 volts. So let's just adjust our power supply. All right. So here, we always try to connect the negative probe, not probe, negative pole first and the positive after. It's just a best practice. It doesn't mean you'll burn your board if you don't do it, but it's a best practice, and it prevents also errors. If there's any static or if there's any, like, you forgot to power off your power supply, if you connect the positive probe first, not probe, sorry about that, the positive pole first, it's possible that that create issues. It's possible you fry some chip, especially, you know, and if you've looked at our stream number 12, I think, where Raz was doing a 4-hour live stream fixing some of the 19 series dashboard, and I believe an dashboard, I'm not sure if it was on stream, but I think our technician Ahmad also fixed in our one of our previous S19 live streams. He fixed you know, the chips that are here. You have the U1, U3, U4, which are like very, very small crystals, but very fragile. And those crystals, like any variation in the power you bring to it, is gonna fry it. It's very sensible part, and so you have to be careful about that one. So yeah, negative pole first, positive pole after. IO port doesn't matter; it can be connected before or after. Um, all right, so let's see what it says. Let's start our test with the ARC Antminer Hashboard Tester, and it confirms the diagnosis we have in the unit. And so it's stopping at 30 chips there. So based on that, that would be the one, this one here. So this would be our faulty chip. We'll have a look, but first we need to know the accurate values for that board. So again, a bit like we did with the D7 board, we know that that part of the board is working well. And so what we can also figure out from the chip map we have on screen and from looking at our traces, we can see so this is we just it's the first time I'm looking at that board, so I'm just looking at everything. All right. Yeah. So what I'm wondering is, where is the crystal? Can't find my crystal at the moment. So again, like since we don't have any maintenance guide, for what I know at least, that Bitmain has released on that, there's no schematics either, for what I know again, that are released, and so we have to physically figure it out. Not a big deal, but sometimes you're gonna scratch your head searching for parts because you don't exactly know where they've been located, and they could be, you know, under the board, under one of those heat sinks, and we can't see it from first glance. And so I won't start to take a customer board and tear it apart just to figure out where the crystal is. That's for sure. So I guess we'll find it out at some point. Let me see. This is here. That makes sense. So this would be a temperature sensor right here. LM75A, just like some of the S19 hashboards. So a standard part. Based on our ARC tester, we can see there should be another one. Again, I think it's located under a heat sink because I can't see it at first glance. So as always, for the uh, used technicians, you'll see the same components we always see on that side of the board, on that generation of units. So you have the PIC here, EEPROM memory, you have your U. On this one, it's the. Um, oh, do we have that crystal on this one? No, U1 is not. So there's no crystal on this one before the peak. There is a small diode there, but those are pretty standard. And for like, I would have to verify obviously, but a lot of the 19 series are using the same diodes as the 17 series. So that's great because if you have some, burnt 17 series boards or whatever, maybe you can go and scavenge that part from one of those hashboards and use it to fix one of your broken 19 series L7, D7. So yeah, the normal sauce here, power going that way. You have the MOSFETs there, boost circuit, inductor. So that's pretty much it. There's always that annoying plastic film on top of the well, not the chip themselves because it's cut for the chips, obviously, for the heat to travel, but all around the chips. This board is not in such a bad shape, so again, it's a bit surprising that it gets to us already because this is not a warranty repair. This is an out of warranty repair, so that means the customer he really wants to have that machine hashing, quickly back in service quickly, and so it got to us yesterday. And this board, at least, I think we're going to be able to fix it today. And we'll have to see for the other board though, because it has burnt marks. And so it's possible this other board, it could be possible it's a no fix. Although the burn is not looking too bad, so I think it might be recoverable. But it's possible it's a no fix. We never know with burn. And it's possible the other board takes a bit more time though. So let's see about that. But in any case, the goal here is to have a very quick repair and have it done with the state-of-the-art team that we have. So now today it's going to be me, but do remember we're a team of about 30 technicians here at the Central. Most of the technicians, they just, they have the typical um, technician shyness. So and even myself, I'm pretty much an introvert, but I've got used to get in front of the camera. I've got used to speak with people. Got used to do meetings and all that stuff. It's something you can learn even as an introvert. But most people they're shy here to go on stream. But we do have a very very large team, and so keep in mind. Like whenever you ship your stuff, you're shipping your stuff to people that are even more experienced than myself. Some of the people we have in the team have been doing that for 15, 20 years, electronics repair in general. Obviously not necessarily ASICs because it's kind of new for mining. Um, all right. Again, oh well, we don't necessarily have to clean that area because we just want to take the measurements. So let me bring our Excel sheet on screen. I already used the same obviously template than we use on the previous stream for D7. And so let's just bring our multimeter for diode measurements. Let's put the meter on screen. Hopefully there's not too much sun reflection on the multimeter screen and you guys can see. On the D7 Hashboard stream, I realized I made a mistake telling you I've inversed it. You want to inject with the red probe and make your measurements with the black probe. So I was mistaken in the previous stream when I said it was the negative probe you have to use to inject. And so just wanted to clear the confusion if anybody has confusion about that. Now, let me just test something. If I use my numbers here, it won't affect the screen. So it wasn't too bad because, my numpad is used for the live stream to key mapping. And so when I was typing in the previous stream, it did move the cameras a bit, but I thought it might be chaotic. But since a lot of the values, they had a lot of zeros, it actually always came back to the current view we have here. But you did lose the multimeter from the screen for a while. So now if I type here with the keyboard numpad on top of the keyboard, at least it's not going to affect your experience as a viewer. And before we get started with the readings, I'll have a quick look at the chat. Nothing yet, and not many viewers as well. Um, it's so D7 stream was a pretty late stream. It was one of the first time we do a stream at that time, and we turned out to have different viewers than we normally do. It was different names that I was seeing in the chat, so that was kind of nice. Maybe now it's one of the earliest stream we did. Maybe we'll have the same experience here. I have no clue what's going to be the actual engagement with that live. So far it's not like too crazy, but those lives anyways, most of the time they have much bigger reach once the live is actually done. So once it's actually a video and it's being shared and everything. In any case, if we have some live viewers that have any question, any comments, want to speak Bitcoin, speak Lightning Network, whatever it is, I'm always open here. If you want to speak about, you know, the subjects we touch on at the beginning of the stream. Let's just take our measurements here instead of removing the plastic here. If you have any, yeah, so what I was saying is if you have any comments on, you know, dollar strength or even Bitcoin price action, let me see what could I do here. Is there a way for me to that thing? I'm such a noob. I'm not using too much the trading platforms. I'm not a trader myself, so I always have to think a bit about it. But let's just go and bring. I think the chart that everybody likes to use is TradingView, and so we can maybe put the daily on screen at the same time. Like that, maybe. Oh, it's looking. Let me see. We're not actually having the full view of it. Let's try to bring that like that. And now, how it's looking. If I bring this like that. All right, here we have it. So no biggie, but it's some price action. We'll see what it says, but with all the uncertainty, I would say we have to see really probably 1 or 2 week price action still before we can actually try to retest upper band resistance. TA says, but we'll see what reality says, because it can be two things. So on those we do have different signal names, so I should rename those actually. We'll just bring that here. So we have clock CI. So it's a bit like the Ultra Plus, RO, RX, whatever, and RSTI, and BI, obviously. All right. So we can essentially ground anywhere. We can go here, we can go here. Shouldn't matter too much. Let's say we look for the clock. We're getting 1200 essentially. Right? 1180, 1176. Let's go here. See, or oh, it's actually a bit higher. There's more. But on this one, we're good. Why this one is higher? Maybe because it's maybe it has to go through the MOSFET, so there's added resistance there. But for the rest, if you even I go here, see, on the bottom of the board, let's say I go here and I measure here. See, I'm getting the same reading, 1178. So that shouldn't matter too much where for the diode measurement. Obviously, it will matter for other measurements, but for the diode measurement, you can see that that doesn't matter too much. So it's something that some people have asked me on some previous streams after the fact. They were asking me why you use, like, why don't you go just here to make your measurement? uh, like when you're measuring DC, obviously you have to follow the traces and ground on the relevant domain ground, for voltage, because that's how domains work, right? There's a differential between the domains. So if you make your measurements based on the hashboard ground, there's going to be all the added differentials in your reading. So if you want to make your actual readings, you have to ground yourself on the domain ground, which is going to take into account, the ground for that domain, and so you're going to get the right readings. Otherwise, you're just going to stack all the differentials, and it's going to be painful to keep up with, right? You could do it. You could still do it that way, but I don't think nobody works that way. In any case, so let's do this. So for now, let's say 1180 CI 1180 RO 420. It looks a lot like 19J so far boards. 450. Yeah. 1180. All right. So that's what's happening. Let's confirm those readings here. Click. Yeah. Yeah. RO and RST. BI. Looking good. And this one is also on a different domain. So let's push our luck even further and make very sure we have the good measurements, and look at that domain. We know this domain was good as well. Yeah, it was. So, okay. Yes. CI. Yes. RO here. 408. A bit on the low side, but it's looking all right. 450. Yeah. BI. Yeah. All right. So let's work with those values. So we can shut this down. We saw a bit of the price action I was talking about at the beginning of the screen. Um, Hey, CHR, happy to see you. Diode test voltage drop between 2 points. So if you ground on the main ground, if you have an issue between those 2 points, it will show. So best to directly. Oh, got it. So Crypto Miner CHR is telling us that essentially, if you have an issue on one of the on the ground that you're using, if there's an issue in between, obviously it's going to show up on your diode measurements. So it's better to have an accurate measurement to actually still use the ground domain, because it's going to allow you to pinpoint that issue directly to that chip, and it does make sense. So good point there. Thank you for letting me know. Good point. All right, let's go and look at our faulty chip. So we had the 30, and I've identified it right there. We'll need to remove some of that plastic film though. Oh, and while we have Crypto Miner CHR on the stream, so he is one of the tutors of Bitmain, and do know he's going to be in Texas If I'm not mistaken, I think it's on the 5th of October the event starts for the Texas mining event. It's launched by Scott Offord, which is a known guy, in the mining scene. And CHR is going to be there doing some training sessions. And CHR, if you do have some L7 maintenance guides, I'm not aware if they're released yet, but if you do have, if you can hit me up, and I'll be able to have a look at that and share it with some of our viewers if they need. Um, let's just take those scissors there. Just have to remove some more of the film, because if we work in that area, we don't want the film to start melting. And a lot of people often ask like what to do with those films. So that's what you do. You just remove it in the area you need to work with. And most of the time, when the boards get in for maintenance, normally they've like this board is, I think, pretty new based on how it's looking and how little dust there is in, or it was in a very well maintained mine, which I doubt because most of the mining facilities just gather a lot of dust. So normally, like, you'll just remove the whole film because it's all filled with crap and dust. This one is in pretty good shape, so I'll just remove the area I need to work on and the area we needed to make our measurements on to get those values. But yeah, normally you just remove the whole thing and don't mind too much about it. For what I know, again, maybe CHR is gonna have some guidance for us on that. And so we're coming here, going like that. So this 30 is going here, 31. So in that case, we'll negative here. So yeah, we've ground here. Let's just see in the screen. And maybe we can even bring on some closer view while we do the measurements. Oh, let's put the multimeter on though. There you go. So now you can see. And those chips, I don't know if you can read it right on the screen, but they are BM1489. And they're not yet on the shop, but they will be listed probably in a week or two because I have very, very little stock at the moment. But I will have more in stock very shortly, and so you'll be able to make your orders there if need be. The prices, I think, until this week were like $50 a chip, something like that. But I managed to get my hand on some good chips, some good stocks. So I think they're going to be like 25 US or 30 US, something like that. So it's a good time to stock up. Definitely the weak mining performance at the moment of the market is helping us. So our BI is a bit high, and what we found, in the S19 A Pro stream we did, we realized that one chip after, so the BI most of the time it can be a return signal problem that triggers the BI to fail. And in my experience, it happens that it's not the actual, so it wouldn't be that chip that's the actual fault, but that chip that can be the fault. So we have to keep that in mind. It's possible that this chip is actually the cause for the bad BI we're reading here. But we can see based on the values we got at the beginning. No, I need to change, I need to swap screens if I want to bring back my Excel sheet on screen, but let me just tell it out loud. So clock, we were measuring the right values we found out for clock is 1180, CI 1180, RO 420, NRST 450, and BI 1180. And so we're measuring about 13. Let me go back and see. BI 1366. So like this is not within error margin. There is definitely an issue there. So we'll start with that chip here because BI still is a signal that's going that way, but we'll keep in mind that sometimes the BI is triggered by a faulty return signal. But at the moment, I wouldn't put my bets on that because RX reading is good. But we saw with S19A Pro board that RX reading was good and was still the BI was still impacted by the chip that was following. And so we just want to keep that in mind. So not only do you have myself in this stream for to answer your questions, but you also have Crypto Miner CHR. There's not too many live viewers at the moment, so it's a shame because you would have like a very good pool of information right here. So anybody that's watching at the moment, do ask away your questions because now is the time. And remember the event. And let me just get that date straight. Mining conference, Texas, where things happen. It's on the 5th of October up to the 7th of October. So it's in 5 days essentially. I wish I could make it, but the timing is not perfect for me. But I definitely wish I could make it to the conference. I think there's going to be a lot of good minds making things happen over there. And so I wish you all a good conference. All right. And let's just remove the neighbor read sync like right away so we can work on that area if we need to after, and it shouldn't um, prevent anything from happening. I did mention the mining training classes that are going to take place in Texas for the mining conference. But do take note that Decentral also has launched its own ASIC repair classes. We already had two groups coming in. And I think it's been doing great. I think the people were satisfied with the training they received. Uh, they get after after the fact support as well. So like we don't like it's not you just come pass a week with us and then we drop you. So if you have any remaining questions after, or if you need more assistance in your journey after, obviously we'll be available for you. Um, we can also, if you're stuck on a board, we can do like virtual assistance with you. So, we up on a virtual call with you. You show us the hashboard. You can have it set up a bit like the one we have on that stream, and we can assist you and try to diagnose the board with you. Um, so sometimes when you're stuck on an issue, instead of like losing 10 hours on troubleshooting it, you just get an hour of consulting, and we up on the call with you and fix it with you. We also had some of our technicians that did some, how we call that again in English? I always forget that word. Not outsourcing, but I guess we could say outsourcing, like where some of our technicians went to other mining sites to do the repairs on site. Mm. Oh, before doing that, sometimes it can be a stupid issue. So let me just remove that flux actually. Sometimes it can be just a stupid issue that's not the ASIC itself. Like 80% of the time it's the ASIC. But let's not assume wrong stuff, and let's just take our resistance values as well, and it's going to be useful for you guys that are watching as well because you're going to get those values, so you're going to be able to troubleshoot your boards in Authority because you're going to have the right values to do so. So we're going here. Capacitor resistance. So our faulty signal is the BI. So I could be measuring just the resistance going through the BI. Um, but let's just take all the measurements a bit like we did in the D7 stream, just to allow you guys to have all the right values you need for your repairs if you do encounter that hashboard for repairs. All right. So we're in resistance mode, and we can go ahead and look this up. 33, again, it's pretty standard. 33 I'm pretty sure is good because it's something we always see on those boards. 33 again. And I know this board, contrary to the D7 board, doesn't look like it was worked by any previous technician or any previous like warranty center or nothing because the plastic film wasn't tore apart. So this is essentially 1K, and here 33. So the values of the resistance, like just like that, I would say I think they're good because they are very standard for those dashboards. But we never take nothing for granted, and we'll just compare to that domain here, the neighbor domain. So let's go on the one that has the same pattern here. I have a bit of the shake this morning for some reason. That's annoying. If you're a technician, you know. It's been a big week. I think I'm a bit overtired, to be honest. It's a good thing if I sleep at like 6 hours nights. Um, I think most of the nights I slept less than that. That's good. Sometimes your body is letting you know that you're a bit tired, right? You get the shake, and that's not useful for repairs. But here we have it. So all the values are good. So I don't think my resistance are at fault here. So now we'll proceed to the chip replacement and see what happens. Again, it's not a board that I'm in big authority, fixing because the L7, for myself, is the first time I'm actually working on an L7, and it's not something that I've seen well documented. So we work with what we have. Um, so take everything that's being said with a grain of salt, but it should be pretty accurate. Let's do this. And if you've watched my stream so far, you know I'm a bit OCD with the dust and the flux all over, and I always clean my stuff. So that's why you see me with the tweezers removing like all the little like thermal paste um, that's remaining there. I'll just reduce my wine a bit for that one because I don't want the plastic all over to start melting. I have just a bit here. That's not going to be an issue, but if it spreads though, we don't want that. So I can see my tin shiny, so we should be about to be able to remove that chip. Getting there. And here we have it. Alright, so you can see with the microscope this one here is a bit bubbly, so maybe I'll just want to redo the path there. Let me just see my solder tip. Yeah, that one should do. So let's power on the iron. Not too many live viewers on this one. It's alright. Alright, so let's put some flux there. And remember, like when you're asking yourself how much flux, like really there's never too much. So just apply whatever makes you feel great. Um, the more the merrier. As long as you clean it after, because flux at the end of the day is an acid, and if there's too much flux leftovers on your hashboard and it starts hashing in the unit and that flux starts, you know, dripping, it could create further damage. It might work for a while, but it could create further damage. So obviously you don't want to like leave all that flux, even though it's no clean flux. We're using no clean flux, but you don't want to leave that on the hashboard. The best case is to to clean after usage, but use as much as you like. That's what I do. And because I'm using a lot of flux, it allows me also to come and just gently go over the pads, and it shouldn't create any bridge. So that's better. Trying to show you, but the reflection of the light is a bit in the way. But yeah, those pads are looking good. And I had prepared some L7 chips. Just have to make sure because I prepared some more chips for other repairs. And so yeah, that's the right one. So again, L7 chips are BM1489. Um, those chips are going to be available on our website pretty shortly. So if you want to proceed with your own repairs, you're going to be able to order from there. Man, where did I put my flux again? Ah, here it is. Let me just bring that a bit more. Don't want to create no damage there. All right. This will go that way. I'll just I know it's nice to see on stream the solder here, but just to make sure I do my job properly, I'm better when I'm over it. So I'll just have a look quick. Oof, getting out. And so you want to put pressure on the chip to remove the, the over thin or the over flux that's under the chip, but not too much pressure, so you break the chip. All right. So I think that's a great install. You'll see though we have two small solder balls that we'll have to get rid of with our iron, but that's not big of a deal. That can still work. You'll see here, this here, it's not a bad install. You just get rid of that with your iron and it's gonna be all good. Just put more flux because if there's no flux, it's gonna bridge bad for sure. Let's see that would be excess solder, excess tin that you would have on your under your chip otherwise. So that's why you apply a bit of pressure to get rid of that. Might not have the best um, tip for that one, but I think we can do it because you want to make sure you don't hit the neighbor parts for sure. Yeah, that's looking good. So part of that, the solder looks good. Right, the legs are looking good. Worst comes to worst, we can always take a smaller tip and just redo real quick. So if you want to make sure, but like from the looks of it, I think it's good. But sometimes you just want to that OCD thing again. Huh? You just want to make sure it really is all the same level. Too much of the shake today. Let's clean the area. Oops. Oh, my alcohol dispenser just broke on me. That's nice. Um, with the microscope there, it's not perfect. Let me just bring that a bit up. All right. And you can't even see the blades on the screen. That's nice. So this is what it's looking like after. So pretty good install. Let's bring our fans to put under the removed heatsink, because that area is going to get hot when we test. So we want to make sure it's at least cooled down a bit. And without the heat sinks, before we make our test with power, we want to look again at our diode values here, if it got any better. It's a bit warm, but it should be giving us the right values there. So let's have a look at the clock. And remember, it's a bit. You have it on screen? No. Here you have it. So it's not hot, but it's a bit warm. So it's a tiny bit lower, but I believe that's just caused by the heat there, and it's already getting much closer to what we expect. And so if you can see it on the screen because of the light reflection, it's 1172, 1173. 1173 RO 412, so we're in the margin of 420. That's good. And RST 450, and I think that was good. Let me just go and verify on our sheet, and yeah, 450 is good. And finally, the one signal we had that was bad, BI, and it's now at 1180. So I think that chip was the faulty one in that case, and it looks like we now have the values we're expecting. So now let's inject our voltage and make the measurements. So that might be a pretty quick fix just there. Alright, so power supply. Let me see what's happening there. Oh man, I almost made a mistake just there. A very bad mistake. So one quick trick, so you saw me reacting, so probably I was able to save it, is as soon as I powered on my power supply, I could see the current being drawn from the power supply, so I shut it down right away and had a second glance at my positioning here. I think you can see it on screen. So here I was inverting those poles there, and that could create a lot of damage to your boost circuit. So you have to be very, very careful about that. Those mistakes can happen from time to time, but they can be expensive mistakes. So you want to be very careful. And now current is not drawn. Power supply is now in standby. It's open at 14 volt point 80. So 14.80. And we're ready to test that board. Yeah, let's do this. And there we have it. Fixed L7 board with temp sensors working. So perfection. That was a quick fix. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, I would have a second board to work on, but it's already having burnt traces, and those, they can be very, very tricky, and I don't want to get stuck in a stream for 3 hours just trying to fix some board with burnt components. So I'll probably do that off stream, or maybe do another stream for that one if I feel the motivation to do so. So for now, it's the only L7 hashboard had to fix, and so it's a success, at least half a success there for that customer that wanted a very quick repair and that didn't even go through the warranty process because he wanted that repair done so bad. So we are working with the various mining manufacturers now to be able to provide to our customers the warranty, because it's a bit frustrating for us and for them to to have them to pay for that when they would be eligible for a warranty repair. And so we'll keep on working on that. And I believe our customers already also putting some pressure on the manufacturers to allow us, to fix it for them because they get here they like we're a walk-in store, right? You can come in. There's no like we're super transparent. We do those live streams, and so customers they come in, they do the walk-in, they would like leave to us 20, 40, 40, 50 machines at a time, and they would do the transport themselves. There's also some locals to whom we do the transport ourselves, and so this allows us to skip the carriers. And so sometimes, when there's warranty repairs and it goes to China or US, even though the repair can be done properly, sometimes just in the transport, because those carriers they don't always treat your package with the care they deserve. And so sometimes it gets to destination and it's broken again. And now those customers, they get mad at Bitmain, they get mad at the repair facilities that fulfilled their unit warranties. And so if they could just come here locally, drop the machines to us, or if we can just ship it to them by ourselves, we use much more care for their packages. And so everybody would win from that. And it's not something we've looked too much in the past because we were so busy with like so many repairs, like institutional miners, retail miners. Like, I mean, like, even if we wanted last year, like we could not fulfill the warranties because it was too crazy, even with all the employees we had. But now we've improved a lot. The team is much better. It was a lot of people in training last year. Now they're actual technicians that are doing much better than I do in those streams. And so for sure now we have some room to fulfill those warranties. And also we moved. We're at a new location, so those that are customers with us for a while know that we've moved 3 times in the last 2 years, because we had to increase our capacity so much. And now the building we're at, what we're aiming for is for at all time 50 technicians doing repairs, ASIC repairs only, like dedicated for that niche. We're at 30 at the moment, and like they're doing 40-hour shifts. But when I'm saying 50 at all time, I mean at all time. So also the weekends, the evenings, everything. And so we project that our center could fulfill about 4,000 units repair per month once it's at its peak. Um, so so now we're aiming to fulfill those warranty repairs because now we're ready. And if the people that know me, they'll know that there's one mantra that I try to live by, and it's I under-promise and over-deliver. So I won't start promising the warranties until I'm ready for it, and now we are ready for it. Some repair facilities, especially the Chinese ones, from my experience, will like not give too much care about the alignment of the back heat sinks, and they'll put it, and they can be like all over the place. Like I try to really have it like straight up aligned with the rows for the airflow to be perfect, because those back heat sinks are actually very important. Like they remove a lot of the heat from the chip. It's connected to the whole core of the chip, so it's super important for it to have a very, very good ventilation. And so some repairs we had was just like the chip was overheating, and it was just because the heat sinks has been put back like um, not properly aligned on the back. And so all we had to do is go over the work from other repair centers that just didn't didn't do their job properly. And so when you get stuff back from us, where everything is aligned, everything is done best practice. So when we're working on our repair queues, normally our upstream, we'll work on like many dashboard at a time. So what I would do right now is put that board aside and let it cool down. But right now, since we're doing that stream and we're working on that board, I'll keep on cooling it actually, so we can we've reapplied our heat sinks, so now we want to retest the hashboard because any manipulation we're doing on a hashboard can create damage. It's just the way it is. And so it's possible the heat we've applied on those heat sinks to solder them back on created damage on the other side of the board. It's not something that happens like really often. I'd say less than 3% of the time. But it can happen. Like any any manipulation on the hashboard can result to damage. So you always have to check and check and check and check over again, and so that's the repair process. So what we'll normally do is we'll reapply the heatsink here, test the board again, reapply the front heatsink, test the board again on the tester, and then we'll test it in the unit. For us to be a success, it has to go through 24 hours of continuous hashing, and then we'll do 3 reboot, like 1, 2, 3, and then leave it for 10 minutes. And if it passes that 10 minutes, then it's deemed a good repair and it's sent to the customer. For 17 series and 19 series, there is no custom firmware that I'm aware for L7 yet, at least. But for 19 series and 17 series, what we can always do sometimes is we'll produce a sorry about that, a chip map with our Vinish firmware, and so we'll be able to look at the hash rate of each individual chip. It's a bit like the pattern test you can do with the Bitmain test jig, but it's, in my opinion, it's much more comfortable to use Vinish than the test jig. The test jig is like taking so much room, and the logs aren't like user friendly to read. I mean, I know them, but it's not intuitive. It's not native. Um, so I prefer to look at my tester, do those tests I was talking about, and then look in the unit, use Vinish when it's possible to diagnose, and then we go with the manufacturer's firmware and leave it on for 24 hours. Do the 3 reboots to make sure the power supply can take it and the hashboard like stay on. And hey, Burning Whisper. So Burning Whisper is one of our technicians here. He's the one that's doing all the awesome cleaning. You can see in some of our streams. So some of the dashboards we're working on, you can see they're so clean. It's because Burning Whisper has been going through them, and so he's asking the chip number on those hashboards, which is the BM1489. Now, want to be very attentive, and sometimes that's the issue with the streams, right? Is we don't have as much attention because we're speaking, we're trying to entertain the audience, and to give you the information we have in mind, and so we have to be very attentive, especially at that part, to connect the good poles at the right spot. IO port connected. Perfect. Everything is good. You can always double check, triple check if you feel the need to. So sometimes, especially now because I'm streaming and I know a mistake uh, can slip, like double, triple check, make sure everything is good, the right stuff is connected, you have the right voltage set here, right poles, and let's do this. So power supply is on, 14.8. Let's start the test. Hmm. See what I was talking about? That's such a minority of the time, but it can happen. Is it still a bit too hot, or was there any damage done? That's exactly why you retest those boards. Seven, voltage is good. Well, it seems we're going to be streaming for a little longer. That's such a shame. Wonder what happened there. Alright. Looks like our clock value got a bit off during that heatsink reinstallation. So like I had to say it, I had to project it in the universe for it to happen, obviously. Uh, hmm. So it seems to be still on the chip we had issues with. Um, and so yeah, it's probably just the heat when we reapplied that heatsink that caused some damage. Doesn't mean the chip is bad though. It just probably means just that we need to either reflow it or reinstall it, or we'll see. So it's probably like probably 15 more minutes and we'll be done because we know there was no other issues around on the board, and the only place we'll be heating is here. So the only place we can be making more issues is that area here. So I'll just have a quick reading of the values around, make sure I didn't cause anything else there, and if everything is good, we'll just proceed on reflowing that chip that's now giving us bad measurements. Yeah, there's some here. I'm having a bit of a hard time to go in the cracks. Let's even use one of those puffy cotton swabs. It's very funny though that I mention it and it obviously happens. Like there's a rule, a physics rule or a law of attraction or something with those live streams, and so you just whatever what's that rule? Whatever can happen will happen, or not. I don't remember. It's Melvin law or something like that. Murphy law. Thank you, Raz. Murphy law. Yes, for sure. And like this is the most frustrating because you know your job was done good and now you have to go over it again. For sure is the most frustrating. Can you see? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So not too many doubts about this here. Here we'll go and see clock. Good. CI. Good. RO. Good. LRC. Good. PI. Good. Here. Clock. And yeah, so this one that we worked on is off. Just want to see also the return. Return would say it's good though. So yeah, even the RO of the chip we've replaced is a bit high, and that makes sense because normally when you have zero ASICs, it's not a clock issue per se. Normally, if you have a clock issue, the most of the time it's gonna the tester is gonna be able to reach up to that chip. And normally when you get zero ASICs, it's really that the tester or the control board, the machine, is telling you, hey, like there's no way for me to figure out and to have a proper like communication with the chips, and so it can even know the chip address because it's working with like chip address, and so it says like in its programming it says okay, this is chip 1, this is chip 2, and so it has different ports to speak to those chips, and so it's trying to make that communication with the chips, but it's not able to do it properly because the values that are being sent back are either too weak, or the signal, the actual signal, the actual communication is faulty. And so in this case, the tester, in the case of your unit, the unit is not able, the control board is not able to tell what messages it's getting back from the chips, and so it's not able to even tell you, hey, this is the faulty chip, because it doesn't know what it's getting back. The feedback it's getting is no good. It's not understandable by the unit. So that was 7. So those were the 2 here. So I had a quick glance on the back as well, because no, that scenario we worked on, and so I wanted to make sure if there was anything maybe that I could have shorted, any part that I could have drifted while I was putting back those back heat sinks. From first glance, it doesn't look like it. Everything looks in order, and I'd say it's a rather simple back circuit, because there is not too many components there actually. Um, you can see for yourself. So, like, the only way for a short to be at cause here would be to have the back heat sinks maybe like overflowing from the pad to one of those resistance or capacitor pads, but that wasn't the case because I was very properly aligned, and so it makes me think that it's just the it's just the Murphy law striking, and I got to that 3% no of the times when you put your back heatsink and it's moving the chip just enough so it doesn't work anymore. So what we'll do is I'll remove it and just reapply the same chip, and what I expect is it's gonna solve our issue. I just wanted to keep you guys on stream with me. That's why. Yeah, almost a new booster. That would be though a very rookie mistake. just redo the pads under the chip, you'll see there's one that I find a bit annoying. It's probably just junk here, like some flux stuck or whatever. With the iron, it's gonna get rid of it for sure. So let's just put this clean all over again before we reinstall. Whenever I'm streaming, I always like put my stuff all over the place. So I'm always looking for my flux. Sometimes it's on my left, sometimes it's on my right. Okay, neat. Just see where's mine. I do have some silver here. What is it with that pad? Looks like it's just junk. I think the pad is good. Yeah, that pad looks good to me. Let's just reapply some flux and retin again. Yeah, looking all good. like so. Sorry about that. Here, see, all good, all shiny, good pads. And just to make my install properly, I'll go over it. I know it's nicer when you guys can see it with the microscope, but I think some of my installs went bad when I did streams because I was trying to do it for the view with the microscope. And so the only solution to that issue is gonna be that I have to buy one of those binocular microscope that's connected also to the stream. So it's probably something I'll do in a short amount of time. Okay. Just need to apply a bit more wind speed. Try not to put it too high because I don't want the surroundings to get too hot and maybe create more damage. But at the same time, those boards, the 19 series, D7L7, the soldering is much stronger and requires a bit more of a push to be able to get the right temperature, the melting point. from my point of view, all is good. So we'll clean that area again and test again. That's what I thought. There's some stuck here under the film, so make sure it's all well dry. For our testing, we'll put the fans under because we're missing heat sinks right now, so those chips will get hot very quick. But before we do the tester measurements, we'll do the diode measurements, obviously. And so I don't know if there is any new viewers that weren't here at the beginning. So this is Antminer L7 hashboard. Let me bring the values we got so far on that board. So I'm not aware of any maintenance guide. I'm not aware of any schematics. And so what we did is we went in what area actually did we measure? Yeah, that area here. And we went and measure the values from 3 different domains to make sure like we have good values to use as a reference point. And we came to the chip 30 where the issue seemed to be happening, and we had a BI misreading at first of 1300, and so our expected value is 1180. Now, as I've mentioned and as we saw in the S19 April streaming, sometimes the BI can be influenced by the return value. Although the BI is a signal that's flowing like all the other signals, I've seen it being affected by following chips from time to time. But in that case, it really seemed to be the same error we had with the machine that was telling us 30 ASICs. The ARC tester here, the ARC Hashboard Tester was telling us 30 chips as well, and our measurements was confirming that the BI was off. When we changed it, so we replaced that chip, it worked. So our dashboard was fixed. And as I was mentioning that sometimes when you put back the back heat sinks, it's important to test again after, because like very little times, but sometimes it's gonna the heat is gonna do damage. So and it's just the way it is. There's no way really to avoid it. Um, as soon as you touch a hashboard, as soon as there's a manipulation, something can break. It's just the way it is. And so that's why you measure and you retest at each of the steps, and that's why we also do a stress test in the units. And so it just happened, obviously, because of Murphy's Law. So right now we removed that very same chip and just reapplied it, because my first thinking would be that the chip is good, right? We installed it, the values were good, the dashboard was testing properly, but then after when we reapplied the heat sinks, maybe the heat made it move just like a microscopic move that was just enough for it to give up. So let's go and have a look at our diode measurement, and if everything is in order, we'll have the ARC tester test it. Right now we're using the ARC Antminer Hashboard Tester, which we are now collaborators on. So we are authorized resellers in Canada. So if you want to buy ARC Hashboard testers in North America, we have the same price as the manufacturer, but our lead time is going to be much better because it's shipping from Canada. We can do the after sales support as well. Oh, well, look at that. My clock is still high, so what's up with that? What's up with that? And my resistance were good. So this is a bit more annoying because I really thought the chip would be good. Resistance in the way should be good. The one just before is good. Or can I get no measurement there? Oh, yeah. Four 415. This 415. So remember how I was saying the following chip can have an impact on the BI. That was our first issue, was the BI. We changed the chip here, we apply it, everything was good, but now our clock is off now. And it was good before when we just changed it, but after applying that chip, testing, reapplying the back heat sinks, it's no good anymore. And that return is high, but return is flowing the other way. And our initial issue was BI, so now I'm wondering if it's not the same thing that's happening, and if it's not that chip that's actually causing an issue. And because that chip is causing an issue, when we power it on, this chip, like for some reason, started failing. Because I don't see many options. pretty sure. Like there's no just just to make very sure. Like there's, for what I know, there's no components there, so could be a bad solder. But like the solder I'll show you on screen, it's looking good to me. Looking good to me. And my return from that chip is good. So we do have some doubts about the solder, so we'll just use another tip again. Run over it again, just see if it can be that. Could be a quick fix like that one. This one, this one. Just just a moment, just a moment. All right. All right, so it's taking a bit longer than expected, this board. At first glance, it looked like it was a success on the first attempt, but back heat sinks, either the back heat sinks or something else happened, and I still have to figure it out. And my best theory right now is the neighboring chip, because for all else, everything looks in order. If anybody has any maybe hint that's watching, you have any hint, something that I'm maybe not seeing that you're seeing, or if you have already worked on some L7 hashboards, they're pretty new. First time I'm working on one, and so I decided to do a live stream and make sure everything goes goes great. But that's the thing I like though with live stream is it's genuine. So you see the real struggle. You know we get those boards and you get to see how we diagnose it and what are the kind of issues we'll face when we're fixing it. Um, so again, like to me it's an act of transparency. So it allows our customers to know that when they're choosing the central, like they know what they're getting, and we're helping the community at the same time. But really, the customers, obviously, as an entrepreneur, my customers are my priority, and so I want to make sure that the customers they understand like what we're doing with their boards. Like we're not doing magic. We have to to figure it out, play with it a bit. Um, just like when you're working on a car, there can be damage that can be caused even by attempting a repair. Obviously, we do everything that's in our control to avoid that, and we try to go as fast as possible. And that is why that customer didn't go through their warranty process for that board because that's an L7 for sure. It's still under warranty, but the customer decided he wants it to be fixed quick, and so that's what we're doing here today. Everything is good to me. Let's just bring the camera back. And you guys be my judge. I think, like, let's come even closer so you can really like judge the soldering there, but I think everything is good, everything is aligned, like you can see here. So installation wise, I think that really is great. Should be working. We're still getting that high value there. But I wouldn't understand why that ship would suddenly be bad. That one I don't understand. but I see nothing on the back that could explain that behavior. So maybe it did happen when we installed the back heatsink, but maybe it's not the back heatsink installation that actually caused that trouble. No, I don't see it. It has to be the chip, but what can like I don't think the back heatsink installation should have caused damage to the chip. So my best theory is really that the neighboring chip maybe is causing something to that chip. All right, less thinking, more action. Let's do this. Again, where did I put my flux? Right there. So we are working on this one. I guess we'll go on that one. So the back heatsink of that chip is already removed, so that's good. I'll need to apply more wine speed. So nobody had the theory maybe about what can be the issue here? It's a bit weird. All right. What I'll do is, well, you know what? We can go and try to see how how the behavior is going to be about that, how it's reacting. Let's test the three chips we have so far. See if we can see any difference. They're probably going to be hot still. Not too bad. Okay. This one is starting a bit lower. And this one, oh, this one started, maybe it was a misreading. Let's just give it some time. Come back. It's hard to say still. I can see there's some difference in the behavior of the resistance of the chips, but like since I haven't worked on L7 so far, it's hard for me to say if those are good chips or no. I'm gonna have to get a bit more experience and do another video to test those chips and give you the right values and the right behavior. So what I'll do for now is I'll put all these chips aside because like I'll just put them aside and be able, if they're good I'll be able to use them. If they're no good, I'll sort them out. So I'll install two other chips. So we really have exactly like we know we have working chips, and we had doubts about that one here, and maybe was the install of that one, which I doubt because I showed you guys it was like really properly aligned. There was enough solder, everything was good from my point of view at least. Maybe anybody that's watching after the stream, because most of our views are coming from after the stream, do let us know in the comments if you see something that was unusual or if you had any hint that I didn't realize while doing this one. Um, but yeah, my best clue is that the neighboring chip was the actual cause, which would relate to some other experiences I had and with my previous comments at the beginning of the stream as well about BI. And to start with, the signal that was wrong was BI. So let's try and see. This one quick. I'll push a bit more air strength, just to make sure, because the solder on that generation is really a bit tougher to work with. We're getting some excess solder ball. Let's just remove that quick, and maybe we'll reapply some heat after. This. So you can see here, there's a. Oh, can you still see it? Here. Right there, removed. And this one here, excess. Just like that. Let's put more flux. It's bridged. Yeah, got bridge there. Still looking bridged. Let's see if with the air gun we can get rid of that. Otherwise, we'll have to remove and reinstall. There's a bit more excess solder coming out. Managed to get rid of that one. Oh yeah, we got it. The bridge is removed. After that, if we still have our issue there, I'm gonna have to do some more figuring out because I don't see any other component that can be at fault. Uh, let's clean that area. So I'll let you be the judge. Oh, did this camera bug? Yeah, it's stuck on the last frame it got for some reason. It seems this one is connected here. Let's try to disconnect and reconnect, but it might not like that. Yeah, I think we lost the microscope. That's sad. Alright, we'll have to do it out. So in that case, I'll bring the board to you, but it's going to be less easier for you to measure if the install is done good. But you saw what it looked like when I did my installs before. I think that was good. It's looking pretty much as good. Do let me know if there's anything that I'm maybe not seeing. Again, I like to leave my stuff very clean when I work on. At least multimeter is still working, so you'll be able to see the measurements. Let's see. Our clock is back at the right values. Let me try to. There's no way to. Let me try to remove some light. Maybe you're gonna be able to see a bit better now. The readings. Yeah, I think so. And you can see that it looks like changing that chip did fix it. So for some weird reason, the chip was giving us bad values. Now, return is now within range. And RST I think was 450. Yeah, let me just bring that back on screen and we can confirm at the same time so you can see it on the chip map screen. I put our values, and so let's do the measurements again. It's always give or take. There can be some variance, so 1174 obviously instead of 1180 is good. So that's our clock, CI, RX, and RST, and BI. All right, so that 30 chip is good now. Let's go to the one that follows. Good, so that's clock, CI, RO, and RST, BI. All right, so from the diode point of view, diode measurements point of view, should be back at the working board now. I certainly hope so. Making sure there is no residue of alcohol left. There's a bit here, and so this is just annoying. We'll just get rid of that. Mm-hmm. Most of the time when we're doing repairs in the 19 series and any board that are with the same design, so L7, D7, whatever, we would just take the plastic film apart. But now since this one was relatively new and didn't have like all that crap stuck in between, we didn't feel the need to remove it. But now that I've worked a lot on that board and you know, I cleaned it a lot, there's a lot of alcohol that went and slipped in between the plastic and it would take forever to dry. So I'm just thinking to myself, I'll just remove the whole thing so we can make sure it's all dried and we don't cause more damage because of that uh, liquid remaining on the board. That would be a stupid issue. And I'm a bit OCD about those things. Like I like to remove like every single part, even though it doesn't necessarily matter. All right. So the good thing is it let us time for the board to cool down. Let us time for the alcohol that was remaining in between the plastic film to dry. And from what I can see, I'll just give a quick cut and swab again with alcohol just here because I think it's a bit sticky because of some residue flux. But apart of that, I think we're ready to make a new test with the ARC tester. Looking good. Let's do the testing. Remember, look at your poles correctly. Negative is the one closest to the IO port. Right. Let's do this. Let's remove this out of the way. Power on power supply. And it's a go. All right. Back to working state. So just to make sure that we don't fry the chip or something like that, I'll just stop the test right away. We'll install the back heat sinks again. We'll retest after the back heat sinks are on. But really, for everything that we went through with that board so far, the first, I started the stream saying so. The first thing that comes to mind when you have an issue with BI is often more like not always, but often it will be the actual following chip that is an issue, even though if the BI is going the same way than all the other signals. In my experience, and it's something we saw a lot with the 17 series as well, it can be the following chip that is causing an issue. Now, I still decided to change the 30 chip itself because like logic dictates that if you have a bad VI and the signal is flowing that way, you want to go and start with that one if you have any issues. So I start with this one. But and when we changed it, after we looked, we had a working board just like now. So we like first time, first attempt, we were exactly at that state now, and we were at that state where we have to reinstall the back heat sinks. Now I was mentioning that we always do another test after installing the back heat sinks because it does happen very little of the time, but it happens time to time. I'd say 3-5% maybe of the time that when you reinstall on the back heat sinks, that's going to create an issue because obviously any manipulation you're doing on an dashboard can cause damage. It's just the way it is. Even if you're the greatest of the greatest of all time, there's like there's a chance that the heat is gonna move something or is gonna disconnect a component just enough or maybe even damage a component, and it's just the way it is. It's how we work. You can be the goat or whatever and it's still gonna happen. That said, I don't think in this case the issue really was the back heat sinks that created damage to the front. What I now think, based on the following steps we followed, because we removed that chip, reinstalled, and I'm pretty sure the chip was good. I wouldn't see why that chip was no good anymore. So, or maybe it was no good. That is a possibility, but I think the damage didn't come from the install. I think of the back heat sinks. I think damage came from the neighboring chip, which was the issue to start with. And when we powered on the board, maybe for the testing, maybe the bad feedback from that 31 chip has caused the 30 to fail again. So my theory right now is the 31 chip was the actual issue with that board. I don't think the back heat sink installation was at cause. In any case, we'll be very gentle, very careful reinstalling those here. And we'll test again and see what's up. Hopefully this time it lasts. We can do what maybe it's hard to see on camera, but what you can do is preheat a bit your heatsink before installing to really avoid creating any heat damage to the board itself. So the solder that's on the bottom of that heatsink is gonna start getting to the melting temperature, and we're gonna have to apply heat to the overall area less time. And sorry, sometimes I am looking for my words. I am a native French speaker, although I think I'm not too bad in English. To be honest, all the content I consume is English. I read in English. I do those streams in English. I speak to a lot of my customers that are English speakers. Um, so like I speak French at home, but and I've been like raised speaking French and all, but really I'm using a lot of English in my life to the great deception of of the leaders of my province. But I do agree though that French is really a nice language, and we want to, you know, do our best to keep it, especially because we're such a small amount of people in North America speaking French. There has to be some, some measures to try to preserve French. Although I will say that most of the time I disagree with the measures we're taking. Um, but it's a beautiful language, and we have a beautiful culture, and there's also a lot of history about, preserving French in North America. Like, I mean, there has been wars waged for that. So it's part of our history and culture, and we have to preserve it for sure. But I see language a bit like a protocol, right? And just like I think really myself, I'm just a Bitcoiner. Most of the people that are following us, I think, will know our company is really dedicated to Bitcoin, even though I'm fixing an L7 now and it's mining script, so maybe Doge or Litecoin. I'm not, you know, uh, I'm not involved in those projects. The only thing that I really care about is Bitcoin because a bit like languages, I think it's a protocol, and the way I see it is like Bitcoin and SHA-256, that blockchain and proof of work and the accumulation of proof of work, you want it all in the same network effect to make it stronger, more distributed, more decentralized, obviously, and harder, to take away, because we're talking about money here. We're talking about, you know, uh, obtaining reserve status. And if we want to achieve that, it's just like memes on the internet won't achieve that. You need real concrete stuff backing it. And so you need all that, all that energy we're putting towards proof of work is done for one thing. It's done for, to have a single source of truth on Earth that even all the adversaries, like nation states, private corporations, enemy nations, or whatever, we can all agree on that single source of truth. And it's super important when it comes to money to agree on a single source of truth, which is the ledger, right? Because if we can't agree on that ledger, you get to situations where somebody is in control of that ledger, maybe say the US, and like they have power over that ledger, so they can decide if you don't behave like they wish you behave, maybe they can cut that privilege. Maybe they can cut those funds. Maybe you don't have control of your funds anymore. And it's not mostly the private that have to have that fear, but in a way, yes, because let's say you're an individual in another nation, and let's just take Russia as an example right now. You as an individual get cut off of the world because of decisions that you didn't got pulled over, and just because those elites are essentially taking those decisions and waging wars against each other. And so us individuals, us hardworking people, um, are relying on that ledger that we've put in their hands, and now they're just denying that access to a whole amount of people to those funds. And so that is something that I find a bit scary, to be honest. And that comes back to the protocol. I know we started with language, and I know we're getting way higher with all of this. But where I'm going with this is language and proof of work. In that case, is protocol. And the best way for protocol to work is like the internet, if we're all agreeing and all using the same protocol. And so French, we have to preserve it. It's a cultural thing. There's a lot of history behind it, but also it's important to recognize that English is probably, the leading network effect on Earth, and English is therefore probably the strongest protocol for exchange of ideas, for us speaking and being understood. Um, so I consume a lot of content in English. I speak a lot in English, and I do those streams in English because I think it's the strongest network effect. As simple as that. Yeah, I'm just curious. So this time, because just after installing our backend sinks last time we had issue, let's measure with diode again before doing another test. So let me put back the multimeter on screen. All right. So that was clock, CI, RX, and RST, BI. Good. 1180. So that's clock, CI, RX, and RST, and BI. So now everything should be in working order. I don't see no reason this board won't work. So are we doing this or what? Negative, the closest to the IO port, connect that pole first, connect the positive pole second, make sure the orientation is good, connect your IO port. Again, before powering on your power supply, you can have a double check, and you can see here, right, the good polarities there. So without, whoops, my glove got stuck. So without further ado, let's get that board hashing. Yes. All right. Now we can call it a day. This board is now fixed. So, well, obviously, as I've mentioned in that stream and probably in some previous streams, there's still remaining the quality control steps. And so I'll repeat those again. And so what we do is we'll reapply thermal paste where it's needed. I think the most of the thermal paste is good, but we'll see. Maybe we'll just clean it off and apply new thermal paste all over. We'll put back the heat sinks, test once more with the tester. If that passes, then we'll bring it to the machine and test in our test room here we have. And after 24 hours, we do 3 continuous reboots. So we reboot as soon as the machine launch, another reboot. It launch, reboot, launch, reboot. Then we wait 10 minutes, and if it starts hashing at the expected hash rate, or at least give or take 5%, because the chip quality is different a bit on each of the boards. But if we're within 5% of the ideal hash rate, then it's a fix. We notify the customer, we send the invoice, and then we ship the machine back to the customer. So that's it for the stream. It was a bit of a, I would have thought it would be easy one, and it was somewhat easy, but you see that sometimes even if you follow the logic of the signal, like there is a lot of hands-on experience, and that's something I think a lot of you guys are gonna, I hope at least, that you guys are gonna get out of those streams, is you're gonna get some of our, the experience we, and all the hurdles we went through. All of that is staying in our mind, and we remember when we see something. So even though the BI in that case was going like that and going here, we have the experience that tells us that most of the time the BI is actually infected by the following chip, and so based on that we made our changes, and we actually got that board working. So thank you for watching. If you want to speak with us, you can always come and have a chat on our Discord room. The Discord link is in the description. You can chat there. We can chat, anything. Bitcoin, Lightning Network. We can chat proof of work. We can get into some heavy exchanges. You can probably even game with some of our staff. You can visit us on our website, obviously, decentral.tech. And we have the shop section, which has a lot of the components you need for your repairs there. The L7 chips will be listed probably in a week or two when I receive my next batch, because right now I'm low, so no point in listing something I'm essentially out of. And if there's anything missing from the shop, well, just hit us up and we will be able to make a custom quote for you. So again, thank you guys, and see you in the next stream. Bye bye.